The summons arrived crisp and formal, bearing the crest of the Blackwood estate. Eleanor, a distant cousin by marriage, had seen or heard from the Blackwoods in over 20 years. A gathering, it stated, was to be held at Blackwood Manor to celebrate the patriarch's passing and the reading of his will. Despite a gnawing unease, a sense of duty, or perhaps morbid curiosity, compelled her to attend. Blackwood Manor stood cloaked in perpetual twilight, even under the midday sun. Nestled deep within the shadowed embrace of the Redwood National Park, its Gothic architecture seemed to claw at the sky, a monument to decaying grandeur and unspoken secrets. As Eleanor's taxi crunched to a halt on the gravel driveway, the air hummed heavy with the scent of damp earth and something else, something acrid and vaguely metallic. The family had already begun to arrive. Uncle Thaddeus, a perpetually sweaty man with shifty eyes, greeted her with a clammy handshake. Cousin Beatrice, draped in funereal black and radiating in her profound sorrow, or was it resentment, offered a curt nod. A handful of other relatives, each bearing their own burden of family history and whispered animosities, completed the somber tableau. The reading of the will was scheduled for the following evening, but that night, as a storm raged outside, rattling the ancient windows and howling through the eaves, Eleanor found herself unable to sleep. She wandered the manor's labyrinthine corridors, each creaking forward a whispered warning. In the library, a vast chamber lined with towering bookshelves, she discovered a hidden alcove behind a loose panel. Inside, a dusty journal lay open, its pages filled with the spidery handwriting of a long-dead Blackwood ancestor. The journal spoke of dark pacts, sacrifices made to appease ancient entities lurking in the redwood forest, and the terrible price the family had paid for their wealth and influence. It chronicled a ritual performed every generation on the night of the storm, a ritual meant to ensure the continued prosperity of the Blackwood line. But it also hinted at a growing hunger, a malevolent presence that demanded more with each passing year. And it gripped Eleanor as she pieced together the truth. The celebration was a carefully orchestrated ruse. The family had been summoned not to inherit, but to participate in the next ritual, a ritual that required a sacrifice. And she, the outsider, the forgotten relative, was the chosen offering. She fled back to her room, but the storm had intensified, trapping her within the manor's suffocating embrace. The lights flickered and died, plunging the corridors into darkness, illuminated only by the flashes of lightning that revealed grotesque gargoyles perched above the doorways. The whispers began, faint at first, then growing louder, swirling around her like malevolent spirits. Downstairs, she heard the chanting begin, a guttural drone that vibrated through the very foundations of the manor. She tried to barricade her door, but the wood splintered under unseen force. The door burst open, revealing Thaddeus, Beatrice, and the others, their eyes vacant, their faces contorted in grotesque smiles. They were mere puppets, vessels for the ancient entity that now controlled Blackwood Manor. They dragged her towards the chapel, a desecrated space where the air reeked of incense and something far more sinister. An altar stood in the center, stained with the blood of generations past. As the chanting reached a fever pitch, Eleanor saw a shimmering figure coalesce in the shadows, a being of pure darkness with eyes that burned like embers. Its presence filled the chapel, suffocating her with a wave of primal terror. This was the entity to whom the Blackwoods had pledged themselves, the source of their wealth and their damnation. Just as they were about to place her on the altar, Eleanor remembered something from the journal. A weakness, a vulnerability in the ritual, a phrase of banishment etched in ancient Latin. With a desperate surge of strength, she screamed the words into the storm, her voice raw and echoing. The chanting faltered. The shimmering figure recoiled, its form flickering like a dying flame. The puppets of the Blackwood family collapsed, their eyes regaining a flicker of awareness, followed by utter emptiness. The manor groaned, the storm raged outside, and the chapel dissolved into chaos. Eleanor stumbled out of Blackwood Manor, leaving behind the wreckage of a family consumed by their dark legacy. As she looked back at the crumbling edifice, silhouetted against the stormy sky, she knew she had escaped, but the darkness of Blackwood Manor would forever linger in her soul. The wind carried the faint whisper of her name, a chilling reminder that some debts can never truly be repaid. The redwood forest remained silent, and the manor stood waiting for the next generation.